I do not stand by in the presence of evil. You made the biggest mistake of your life.
And what's that?
Underestimating who I am.
Hey, what's going on all my fellow godlies and Warframe enthusiasts around the world? This is Vance, bringing you another episode of Warframe God Builds ReForged. And today we're going to be covering Octavia, who settled in dead last in every single poll that I did recently, which was on Facebook, YouTube, and even Twitter. She just wasn't voted for. I don't know if people dislike her or what's going on here, but she wasn't voted for, so I'm covering her dead last. And before I can get into this, I wanted to state that this is really good for orb hunting. As a matter of fact, this is primarily what this build is geared around, so let's just keep that in mind as we go into this. If you don't like this build, keep in mind that it's geared towards the profit taker missions, so if you don't fancy that type of thing, change these mods up as you see fit. So here we go, Octavia's original build. It's been too long, admittedly, it's just been too long since I've done the initial god build for Octavia, and I don't remember at all what I put in there, but I can tell you this much. My test that I conducted based upon the old build versus the new build is a day and night difference. We have energy siphon present, we have pain threshold for faster stagger recovery. That mod right there is pretty essential for profit taker missions especially. So if it's not something that you do on a regular basis, don't even worry about this mod, replace it with something else. Prime continuity, quick thinking, overextended Umbra vitality, streamline auger methods, stretch, and intensify. Now, I'm low-key disappointed with this build because I wanted to include a primed flow. That way we can capitalize the most upon the quick thinking. But everything here is just absolutely necessary for dealing the optimal amount of damage to the Profit Taker missions. Also, I have Arcane Grace and Arcane Guardian here. Arcane Grace is one of those mods that when you get damaged, it'll return a small amount of health to you. And Arcane Guardian is the same thing, but instead of health, it's armor. So, again, very essential arcane enhancements you need. And Lanka is probably going to be your go-to weapon when it comes to Profit Taker Slayer. There's just no getting around this thing. It does amazing damage. It's always reliable. You have to have your Hellfire Stormbringer, which is your corrosive combination, Vital Sense, Serration, Point Strike, Split Chamber, Vial Acceleration, and Heavy Caliber. And it's going to do 11,587 radiation damage. That's ungodly. So you need this gun present for orb hunting, and I would also recommend it for Eidolon hunting because it's just the go-to gun for popping weak points. Now, I have no idea what is going on with this glitch right here. I don't know why I have dual hope enders, but that DE, make this a thing. Please, make this a thing. I need dual hope enders in my life because I love the secondary. And speaking of the secondary, I did debut this in the Ivara ReForged video. And so if you want to check out the combination for how you can craft your own kit gun and make it the Hope Ender combination, go and check that video out. But for right now, I've got Prime Target Cracker, Prime Pistol Gambit, Hornet Strike, Lethal Torrent, Frostbite, Pistol Pestilence, Jolt, and Barrel Diffusion. My elemental combinations here are Cold, Radiation, and Corrosive. I built it this way primarily because I want it to be good outside of orb hunting. It would be a crying shame if that's all it could do is orb hunt and nothing more. Also, I have Pack Seeker, so every time you get a headshot, it launches a barrage of like seeking energy missiles out that also seek out the heads of enemies that are nearby. Really wonderful combination. I'm using Hope Ender in conjunction with the Orbius because, you know, that fancy update which let us wield our throwable melees at the same time as we're wielding our secondaries was pretty incredible. And Orbius is capable of damaging the Orb Hunter as well. I don't know when this buff occurred, but there was obviously a buff that got pushed through that made the Orbius so much stronger. And as a result, I'm using Virulent Scourge, Voltic Strike, Power Throw, Weeping Wounds, Prime Pressure Point, Molten Impact, Drifting Contact, and Condition Overload. My elemental combinations are Heat, Puncture, and Corrosive. Now, One thing that I want to say about the Orvius is that it used to be badass, then it got nerfed, and then it was buffed. Weapon buffs and nerfs are like the economy. It's designed to be good one moment, then bad the next, and then it'll self-regulate itself. It always balances out one way or another. So at this particular moment in time, when you throw your Orvius just right, when you hit it, there's like a little indication that spins in the center of your screen when you're charging up the throw, and if you hit it just right, the Orvius will do its passive where it hovers above an enemy and then it will explode. So that's where power throw comes in handy. Is power throw, although it says punch through, it actually makes the thing explode, which is pretty cool. It's pretty nifty. Just watch out for that self damage, because I can't tell you how many times I've killed myself in an arbitration mission because of it. As far as companions go, I know that I debuted Surprise, but Surprise is going to be pretty helpful to you. This is the built Moa. I named Surprise the Top Hat Moa. I have no idea what it's called. I didn't bother to look up the names. But I've got Meta Ray, Link Health, Meta Pet Kit, Coolant Link, Anti-Grav Grenade, Whiplash Mine, Animal Instinct, Shield Charger, Link Armor, and Vacuum. I'm building this companion just to be more offensive, because I don't necessarily need it for anything else. It's not one of those combinations that I am heavily dependent upon. I just want it to do a decent amount of damage and sustain itself while in combat. And the Top Hat Moa seems to be the strongest one out of the ones that you get, and plus you can mix and match the powers once you have all the Moa combinations, which I think is really, really cool. And I have armed my Surprise with the Volk, which I have a ribbon for here that does heat damage, overall damage, core damage, and toxin damage. I paired that with Serration, Point Strike, Heavy Caliber, Split Chamber, Malignant Force, Vital Sense, and High Voltage, and I have the heat and corrosive combinations. Now, one thing that I want to state before I send you off on this video and let you go test this build on its own is the generic lens is absolutely needed. If you're going to build exactly the way I built for, you're going to need the generic lens. There's just no getting around it at all. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to max out Energy Dash. Energy Dash is probably the most used asset of any lens ever, and rightfully so. It's because so many Warframes starve for energy, and Octavia with this specific build is definitely one of them. Again, as I stated at the beginning of the video, this setup is geared towards profit hunting. So if you're not geared towards that as an Octavia player and you main Octavia but without the instance of orb hunting, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would exchange a mod for primed flow, and then not worry too much about Energy Dash. You can use pretty much any lens at that point. I would go maybe with a Matter Eye for, let's see, Void Strike. That might be good. Other ones, I'm trying to locate the one that's... Okay, so yes, the Uneru Wisp. This one's really good for amplifying the damage of you and your allies as the operator. I would choose that for Eidolon hunting because it is possible for you to Eidolon hunt as an Octavia player. I know that when she does her abilities and she damages enemies around her, she also keeps the smaller Eidolons dead. So this could be very useful for dealing with that situation, especially if you want to lock down a relatively anti-meta group that utilizes an Avara with Kastanas, the Mutilus Quanta, and crit bonuses. I mean, Ivara has the potential to one-shot Eidolon, but it's very dangerous for her to do so because the smaller Eidolons will hunt her down and abuse her. So if you use this combination with Octavia and you're constantly killing smaller Eidolons, you could be a two-man wrecking crew for Eidolon hunting. So I hope that you learned a lot from this video, as I'm always trying to educate my fellow Warframe players on how to be better players in the game. And although my channel says God builds, I've been harassed for this one too many times. The reason why they're called God builds is because they're very, very versatile. They're meant to take on any challenge thrown at them and still succeed. So if you don't agree with the way that the builds are set up, man, do it your own way. I encourage players to build their own way and utilize whatever works for them. You can't argue with results. So again, I hope that you've learned something from this video. And please consider checking out the trailer videos that I do, the speed paint videos that I do, becoming a Patreon, shopping for merchandise of my own personal artwork with the stuff that's at the bottom of the video. And until next time, this has been Vance signing out. Peace.